Why do people hate Islam? No, really. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself that question? Is it because of what the religion actually teaches, or because of what you've been told it teaches? Nearly 2 billion people follow Islam, yet in movies, on the news, in political speeches, Muslims are almost always the villain. Why? Why is a faith that teaches peace, charity, and prayer being portrayed as a global threat? Could it be that hatred isn't born from truth, but from fear? And could that fear be deliberately manufactured? In the next few minutes, we're going to explore a side of the story you've probably never heard before. We're going to peel back the headlines, expose the billion-dollar propaganda machine, and ask the uncomfortable questions no one dares to ask. Because this isn't just about Islam. This is about how truth gets twisted, and how entire populations get manipulated into hating what they don't even understand. So before you scroll away, give me a few minutes from your time. I promise you'll never look at this topic the same way again. This is the Knowledge Channel. Don't forget to subscribe in the channel and hit the like button if you are seeking the truth.
It all really began the day the Twin Towers fell. The world watched in horror, and within hours, a new villain was created. Not just the terrorists who hijacked planes, but an entire religion. Suddenly, Islam wasn't just a faith, it was a threat. People who had never opened a Quran, never met a Muslim, were now convinced that nearly 2 billion people shared the same ideology as a handful of extremists. But here's the truth no one wanted to admit. The men who carried out 9/11 didn't represent Islam, they hijacked a religion the same way they hijacked planes. Yet the damage was done. Fear spread like wildfire, and instead of targeting the criminals, the world turned its suspicion on every bearded man and every woman in a headscarf. The headlines, the political speeches, the Hollywood scripts, they all played their part. Fear became a brand, and Islam was the label slapped on it. And guess what? That fear turned out to be incredibly profitable. It sold newspapers, won elections, justified wars, and made billions for defense contractors and surveillance agencies. And so a dangerous lie was born, and fed, and repeated, until millions believed it without ever questioning it. But what if that fear was never about Islam, and always about power? What if I told you that Islamophobia isn't just some random public fear, it's a business, a well-funded, carefully structured, multi-billion-dollar industry designed to manufacture hate, spread misinformation, and control public opinion. Since 2001, dozens of so-called think tanks and lobbying groups have been created, pouring out fake studies, biased articles, and viral YouTube clips, all with one goal: convince you that Islam is the enemy. Politicians used it to push agendas, media outlets used it for clicks, and arms dealers used it to justify endless wars. Groups like these don't care about truth, they care about influence. They fund hate speakers, push anti-Muslim propaganda into schools, and spread fear through social media algorithms. And here's the part that will shock you. Most people consuming this content don't even realize they're being manipulated. They see the headlines, they hear the sound bites, and slowly, without knowing it, they start to believe the lie. Islam is dangerous. But behind that lie is a long line of people getting rich, powerful, and elected off your fear. This isn't just ignorance anymore. It's a strategy. Now let's talk about the real master of deception, the media. The average person doesn't read religious texts or travel the world. They learn about others through screens. And for the past 2 decades, the screen has shown Muslims as either terrorists, victims, or villains. When a Muslim commits a crime, the headlines scream Islamic terrorism. But when a white man does the same thing, it's mental illness or a lone wolf. If a Muslim woman wears a hijab, she's oppressed. But if a nun wears nearly identical clothing, she's devoted. These double standards aren't accidental, they're psychological warfare. They create emotional triggers, feeding fear and anger into your brain until it becomes second nature to associate Islam with danger. And let's not forget Hollywood's role. For years, Muslims were cast as bombers, oil sheikhs, or angry mobs shouting in Arabic. Rarely scholars, heroes, or humans with depth. So, when people say Islam is scary, ask them, where did you get that idea? Chances are it didn't come from personal experience. It came from a media machine that thrives on stereotypes, drama, and conflict. Because peace? That doesn't sell ad space. And here's where it all starts to make sense. Ignorance. The truth is, most people who fear or hate Islam have never read the Quran, never stepped into a mosque, and never had a real conversation with a Muslim. Their opinions aren't based on knowledge. They're based on headlines, movie scenes, and fear-soaked political speeches. And that's dangerous, because when you don't know someone, it's easy to believe lies about them. It's easy to accept that Islam teaches violence when you've never heard its verses on mercy, justice, and compassion. It's easy to believe Muslims want war when you've never seen them praying for peace 5 times a day. Hatred is always loudest where understanding is weakest. And when a whole society is raised on fear instead of facts, you get exactly what we see today. Neighbors scared of each other, kids bullied for their names, mosques vandalized, and innocent people judged by the worst acts of the few. It's not that Islam is dangerous, it's that people have been taught to look at it through a cracked, dirty lens. And the ones who clean that lens, they're usually shocked by what they find. Not a violent ideology, but a deeply spiritual, disciplined, and peaceful way of life. So if Islam isn't what they say it is, why does the fear still persist? The answer might be deeper than politics or media. It might be philosophical. Islam doesn't just challenge stereotypes, it challenges systems. In a world obsessed with individualism, consumerism, and instant gratification, Islam offers discipline, modesty, community, and accountability. In a society built on do what you want, Islam says do what's right. That's not just different, it's threatening. Because Islam isn't just a religion, it's a worldview that refuses to bow to materialism or power for the sake of popularity. It questions the way wealth is distributed, how women are objectified, how families are torn apart, and how morality is twisted to serve profit. And for those in control, the ones who benefit from a confused, distracted, fearful population, Islam is a problem. Not because it's violent, but because it's awake. Because it can't be bought. Because it inspires millions to live with purpose even in the face of propaganda. And that kind of faith, that kind of clarity, in a world built on noise and manipulation, it's revolutionary. So now maybe the question isn't why do people hate Islam, but who wants them to? And what are they afraid will happen if people actually understood it? Maybe they're afraid you'll realize that Islam isn't your enemy, it's just been made to look like one. That the woman in hijab isn't oppressed, she's devoted. That the man praying on the sidewalk isn't dangerous, he's disciplined. That the Quran isn't a book of war, it's a book of life, misquoted by some, but misunderstood by many more. And maybe, just maybe, they're afraid that if the fog clears, if the noise stops, you might see Islam for what it really is. Not a threat, but a mirror. One that challenges us to look inward, to question everything we've been sold, and to ask ourselves if the hate we carry is really ours, or if it was planted there, one headline, one movie, one speech at a time. So, the next time someone tells you to fear Islam, pause. Ask why. Ask who benefits. And most importantly, ask yourself, what else are they lying to you about?